Okay, guys, welcome back to the ODA and law class. Now, at last, we are in the last stage of this semester. Yes, you may feel that ODA, it is quite a difficult one. Yes, it is. To help somebody is not an easy work. In the international communities, to assist something for somebody, some other countries, it's not a easy one. The needs and the target, they have different ideas. And the donor countries, they have another level, different ideas. So it is very difficult to harmonize, to match together. However, we have a rule to regulate, to harmonize the different things. Therefore, we are doing the ODA work. Right in the last stage, today's lecture, we will see the another types of Korean ODA with their rules. Right, in part 1, we will see the law for the EDCF work. EDCF is External Development Cooperation Fund. Korean government, they help the developing world near grant aid or technical assistance. And lastly, they can provide money, loans. So the characteristic point of the EDCF is money. And then Korean government, they can provide money to the developing world, and they expect the repayment in the future. So the basic structure of loan is same to the commercial loans in our normal life. However, the differences between two things is the conditions. So the loans from the government to the government as the ODA works is very good for the developing countries. For example, the interest is very low. So the developing country will not feel the burden to pay back to the interest, and also the original money to be paid back in the future, but their payback schedule is very, very long. So loan is also important track for the ODA work. However, the thing is that anyway, the developing countries must pay back to the donor countries the original money plus interest. So donor countries, naturally they will expand their the percentage of loan rather than grant aid, because grant aid is free money, and the loan is not free money. So donor countries want to provide their help with the color of loans, not grant aid. Therefore, international society wants to regulate, to restrict, to limit the colors of loans. But anyway, Korean government also provide the loans to the developing world, and for that purpose, Korean government has a special fund, that is EDCF fund. To manage EDCF fund, to make EDCF fund, to expand to spend the money from the fund, we need a kind of standard or guidelines or rules. So we made the law. Korean government, they made the law, domestic laws, national laws, for the establishment, for the management, yeah, of the fund, the loans, as a part of their ODAs. Okay, so in this part we will see the EDCF works and their laws. Right. EDCF fund, yeah, this fund is managed by the Korea Exim Bank. Basically, Korean Exim Bank, their original role is a special bank for the boost or stimulate the trade. I mean, export, import, yeah, the trade of Korea. So this bank was made for supporting the companies in Korea to export their product to the other countries, or to import the other countries' product to the Korean market. Anyway, if they believe that, if they decided that it is beneficial for the Korean market or Korean economy, they can support the trade. So Korean Exim Bank originally made for this function. However, they have different functions as well. One of them is management of EDCF, right? Okay, let's see the Korean Exim Bank and their work with the law. Okay, Korea Export Import Bank, Korean Exim Bank. It was established in 1976. Wow, that's a long time ago. 1976, yeah. Korean government pushed the companies to trade more and more and more. And they believe that big volume of trade should be very beneficial for the Korean economy. Yes, it is. More than 80%, I think 90% of Korean economy is based on the trade or economic exchanges with other countries. Therefore, trade activity is very beneficial for the Korean economy. So, Korean government, they wanted to support the trade activities of Korea. So they established this bank for this special purpose, and then the bank, the major function of this bank is to support the trade of Korea. They provide export credit and guarantee programs to support Korean enterprises in conducting overseas business, that is, trade or economic exchanges. So Korean government made a certain policy for their trade or economic exchanges. Then the Korean Exim Bank, it is one of the major policy the workers. Yeah. It was very harmonized with those days economic policy of Korea. That is, export-led economy and economic cooperation with other countries. So the economic development of Korea was based on this policy of Korean government. Yeah, trade more, and making profit from the trade or economic exchange with other countries. So the Korean Exim Bank, Korean Export and Import Bank, was very, very important for the supporting of Korean trade activities, and they provide various types of support service for the trading activities. Export loans, trade finance, and guarantee programs for their trade activities for the Korean economy. And then, they have two more sub-functions as well. That is the special fund management of Korea. One is the Economic Development Cooperation Fund, that is EDCF, for Korean ODA activities, which is our topic. Second is the Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund, IKCF, very special fund for the economic cooperation with North Korea. You may heard that the economic cooperation project between South Korea and North Korea, yes, but we know that North Korea, they do not have enough money. So commonly, various types of North and South Korean economic cooperation to be based on the South Korean fund, which came from this project, Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund. Okay? So let's focus on the first one, the Economic Development Cooperation Fund for ODA activities of Korea. So Korean Exim Bank, they are manager of the EDCF, and they will do the loans from the fund for the developing countries as the ODA, the Korean ODA works. Okay? Right. Let's see the Korean Exim Bank Act. So, to establish, to manage, to regulate the bank, Korean society made the Korean domestic laws, that is, Korea Exim Bank Act. It's only for their management or establishment of bank itself, the bank itself, not for the EDCF, right? Okay. So the main theme of this act is for the bank itself. It is not related to their ODA works. Please remember that. Okay, so if somebody asks you that, the Korean Exim Bank Act is directly related to their Korean ODA works, and the answer is yes or not? No. Okay? So the Korean Exim Bank Act is for the establishment or management of the bank itself. Article 1, the purpose, they regulate, they provide, the thing is to promote the sound development of national economy, to provide finance which is required for the overseas economic cooperation and trade, such as export, import, and overseas investment and the exploitation of overseas resources. Therefore, this bank originally made for the economic development of Korea, not other country. Okay? By more trading, to support more trading, or more economic exchanges with other country for the Korean economy, right? Article 2 of this act provide the character of Korean Exim Bank. It is the bank, but it is special bank, not the commercial bank. And they have a legal personality, that is the juristic person, and then this special bank is not the target of the other commercial bank related law, such as the Bank of Korea Act or the Banking Act in Korea. It's not related to this Korean Exim Bank. Okay? So the Korean Exim Bank is only regulated by this act, Korean Exim Bank Act. Okay? Please distinguish the colors and target of these acts. Right? Okay, let's see the details of the articles of the act. From Article 1, the purpose, to the other articles, they provide the establishment and the purpose and the organization of the special bank, Korean Exim Bank, and then their role, functions, yeah, and the staff from executive, directors, and the auditors, something like that, and then their power, yeah, and their limitation and their fund as well. Yes, and then the other provisions provide the management of this bank, yeah, and then their responsibilities, yeah, and the other work regarding the Korean Exim Bank. So please remember that the Korean Exim Bank Act, the Korean national law, domestic law, is made for the regulation of the bank itself. It's not directly related to the Korean ODA job, right? Maybe it can be related to the indirectly related to the Korean ODA works, because the Korean Exim Bank is the hand of a part of Korean ODA activities. But it is just the indirect ways, not direct ways. Please remember that. Korean Exim Bank Act is not directly related to the Korean ODA works. It is just for the regulation of the Korean Exim Bank itself. Yes, from the other articles, yeah, is their activities, their work functions, yeah, and etc. Yeah, their work is very restricted to only to support the Korean trade activities, to companies which is related to the trade activities or economic exchange, import or export, yeah, or investment, something like that. Not the other one. So it is not the commercial bank. Please remember that. Yeah, the Korean Exim Bank Act is quite long, and provision is very detailed, and they will regulate the Korean Exim Bank. I don't want to talk about the details of this provision because it's not directly related to the Korean ODA activities. Okay? Right. Let's see the role of the Korean Exim Bank. Basically, this special bank is to support the Korean trade activities and economic exchanges with other countries. So the roles of a bank is related to those kind of work. This is the ECA, Export Credit Agency, facilitating export transaction. And it is the executor of EDCF to help the developing countries. It is also executor of IKCF, that is Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund, for the economic relationship between South Korea and North Korea, right? So they have three functions, but the first one, it is the original role, and the others, second and third one, is the third role of the bank. all right? So basically, originally, Korean Exim Bank was established for the supporting of Korean trade activities and economic exchanges with other countries for the economic benefit from their activities for the Korean economy, right? However, two other sub-roles, it is very special for the Korean Exim Bank. Other Korean banks cannot do that. These only for the Korean Exim Bank, their roles. That is, the manager of EDCF and the manager of IKCF for their ODA work and for their economic relationship with North Korea. Okay, that's it. Right. Now let's focus on the Economic Development Cooperation Fund of Korea. Yeah, this is the Korean ODA works. Okay, so from now we will be more focused on the Korean ODA works regarding the Korean Exim Bank. Okay, Korean Exim Bank. Yeah, they are. This bank is the manager of the EDCF, and then we have to understand that the Economic Development Cooperation Fund, EDCF. The EDCF, this special fund, was established in 1987 in Korea, and then it is special fund for helping the developing countries. And the Korean Exim Bank, it is the manager and operator of the fund for the industrial development and economic stability of developing countries. So, EDCF is made in Korea for helping who? Developing country. To help developing country. That is the Korean ODA works for developing countries. As a donor country in the international community, Korea wanted to help the other countries, developing countries. So they made these special fund. From this special fund, Korean government will provide loans to their developing countries. Yes. Let's get back to the 1950s and 60s and 70s and 80s. We have studied that Korean economic development was based on the expansion of infrastructure, right? For that, Korean government had made international agreement with the other countries or international organizations to receive the fund, and they expanded the railways, motorways, something like that, infrastructure. So, Korean government also wanted to make those kind of special fund for the developing countries based on their experience. So, main target of this fund is to vitalize the human resource of developing country or expansion of economic infrastructure. What is the human resource development? Education, school, and training program. These kind of works as the ODA project to be helped by this fund. Another one, economic infrastructure, to make better harbor system, to make better airport system, to make more motorway and railway, those kind of things. Electricity suppliers, factories. those kind of infrastructure to be very, very, very important for the economic development of developing country. However, developing country, they didn't have enough money. So Korea wanted to help developing countries providing the loans from the fund. Yep. So human resources or economic infrastructure, these two themes are the main target of the fund. Okay. So from the fund can be used for two different sectors. Yeah, human resource development and the expansion of economic infrastructure, commonly of developing countries. Okay, that is the EDCF, the Economic Development Cooperation Fund of Korean government. Okay, right. To make this fund, to manage this fund, Korea have to have their domestic laws. So Korean government made the national law, the Economic Development Cooperation Act, the EDCF Act. Right. This act is quite a short one. Yeah, it's not details. Yeah, so they provide some kind of just structure. Yeah, mainstream and the limitation of the purpose. Yeah, and then the details can be regulated by the sub rules under the EDCF Act. So presidential decree, they provide the details of the regulation. So the EDCF Act is directly related to the Korean ODA works, right? Yes or no? Yes. So please distinguish two different Korean domestic rules regarding Korean Exim Bank, right? One is Korean Exim Bank Act. It's not directly related to the Korean ODA work, but yeah, the EDCF Act is directly related to the Korean ODA works. Okay, so the EDCF Act is regarding the details of the fund, such as the establishment and financial sources and the use, operation, and management of the fund. And then they also provide the requirement for the assistance to the developing country, and then accounting standards as well. And the other matters regarding these issues, such as long-term and temporary borrowing, disposition of profit and losses, and supervision of the expenditure from the fund of the developing countries. Yeah. Monitoring system. Yes. So these things can be regulated by the EDCF Act. So this act is directly related to the Korean ODA works. Let's see the bit more details on the EDCF Act. From purpose to the other things, yeah, each provisions provide the different topics, purposes, definition, establishment of fund, financial sources, long-term borrowings, and the use of fund, yeah, requirement for assistance from the fund, yeah, the other things. Then, then the Korean Exim Bank, when they manage these funds, they have to follow, they have to keep the standard from this act. Okay? So if we say that the Korean Exim Bank Act is for the regulation of the the bank itself, then the EDCF Act is for the management of the fund by hand of Korean Exim Bank. Okay, so if the Korean Exim Bank when they manage this fund, they have to follow the EDCF Act. Okay, right. Article 4 of EDCF Act provide the funding resource of the EDCF. Contribution from the government. These major sources of the fund from the government. That's why we can call that, this ODA, Official Development Assistance. Contribution from the government invested institution. Contribution from other government fund, and sometimes it can be added by the long-term borrowings from which is regulated by Article 5 of this Act. This budget deposits from the National Bond Management Fund from Korea, and some profit from the operation of the fund itself. So you can say that mainly the fund to be from the money from Korean government. So it is ODA works. Let's see the EDCF and the Korean Exim Bank. I said that Korean Exim Bank, it is executing agency of the EDCF Special Fund. The Article 9 of the EDCF Act provide that the Korean Exim Bank is the hand of the EDCF Fund. That's so, based on this article, these provisions, Korean Exim Bank has a right or power to manage the EDCF. Of course, Korean Exim Bank is the controlled, under the control of Ministry of Finance. And then the Korean Exim Bank, the major role as the manager of the EDCF is administrative operation and the management of the fund itself. And the other related works, supervision of the developing country which used this fund, and the evaluation process should be also by the Korean Exim Bank. Sometimes they can make some advices to the developing countries if they use the Korean Exim Bank fund, that is EDCF, right? Okay, you guys have learned many things regarding the EDCF. EDCF is the special fund for the Korean ODA job. And then, according to the Article 9 of the EDCF Act, only the Korean Exim Bank will manage and operate the fund. So, based on this article of the Act, Korean Exim Bank is the official manager or operator of the fund. Therefore, Korean Exim Bank have to follow the Act, the EDCF Act, right? Okay, this is the end of part 1 of today's lecture. Have a break time and see you soon in the part 2.